By the time we're finished laying out the case, they get it.
So now, who are these guys they were talking to? Leaders in the community, right? Okay. So they were in support of it, or they were in support of the program? Okay. All right, well.
We talked to people in Hunting Park, a neighborhood with high levels of gun violence, to see what they had heard.
There's a new trauma care study out of Temple University that focuses on neighborhoods like this one. Have you heard anything about it?
No.
How many people here would you bet know about the study?
Not that many.
What were your first reactions when you heard about it?
To be honest, I don't agree with it.
Do you know how it works to opt out of this study?
No, I don't.
There's a place you can go online and state that, and then you can wear a bracelet that says, I'm somebody who doesn't want to be part of the study. Now that you hear that, is that something that you would consider doing? Do you want to opt out of the study?
I would.
Now, you gotta opt out.
That's crazy.
You gotta opt out. Why is it that you had to opt in?
Right.
Okay? Because they're experimenting with us.
Exactly.
As always.
What I understood that to say is if they give you the normal things to sustain your life that's actually killing you, and that if they give you less intervention, your survival rate is higher.
That's their hypothesis.
Right.
Okay?
But it doesn't make sense. I just want to make sure I'm following this.
Right. But that's their hypothesis. But they want to test it on us. Why not test it on somebody else then? Why is it always being tested on us?
Because we're expendable.
Exactly. And that's what we see from the neighborhoods. So when you see the guys acting like that and shooting and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Well, you know, and then they're responsive if Black Lives Matter while y'all killing each other.
That's the big comeback.
Wake up.
A lot more education needs to be done around this whole study. The study could come out to be negative, I guess. It could be a total reverse. I don't know that. They don't know that.
What happens in the event that your hypothesis is wrong?
Well, if the hypothesis is wrong, then we change our practice. And then we're really very glad that we did the study. We're actually...
Look how easy it is.
Yeah. After how many people done died from your study? These people.
The thing we're studying every single day, and we have been day in and day out for a very long time. All we're modifying is the way that we are able to capture data so that we can prove that that's actually the sole difference. So, you know, to be honest with you, I do not feel that we're taking a risk. And we shouldn't wait. Because the homicide rate is up, because the shootings are up, we shouldn't wait at all. And not just here in Philadelphia, but in Chicago, you know, and in Detroit, and in Atlanta, and in LA, you know, and all over this country where people are being shot as trauma surgeons. This is what we can do, and this is why we're doing the study.
I got a comment to make.
Go ahead, bro.
I got two comments to make. First comment is directly to what they just said. If we don't solve our problem, somebody's going to solve it.
Absolutely.
And that's what they're saying. They're saying, well, I mean, they killed each other, so they don't know what to do about it. So we try whatever. And who's we to tell them what not to do, and we ain't doing nothing at all.
And you know what? And he's saying, and you know what they said already? Donald Trump already said. He said, I have a plan for the African Americans.
We're gonna talk about that.
Medicine because they take a Hippocratic oath to preserve life.
Yep.
So now we want a guinea pig, and all those areas that they mentioned is where black populate and homicide is high. So they're just letting you know we're going to be guinea pigging with your shooting victims to see if our hypothesis works. Right. And if it don't, oh well. Right. You were shot up when you came in here.
Right. So the other point,
You liberals who have lifted them up, Robert.
Is when it comes to showing kids this, and I don't want to sound critical, but this is my personal opinion. they can sit here tonight and watch this, right? Because when we saw Chicago, obviously all them kids got parents. They got parents, and it's a whole bunch of kids playing video games, walking up to cars with guns. I mean, I'm just being real. So my second point is this. We can have all the children come in here and watch that, but when they get home and see something totally different, it's going to have a very small effect.
See, but the thing is that things have to be continuous. It can't just be a one-shot deal.
Yes.
You know, but the thing is that we have to reach the kids internally so they can make certain decisions for themselves.
Exactly.
Okay? But we have to give them the option. We have to show them that there's another way. But a lot of times, you know, they get caught up in stuff and they don't, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aki.
What happens with that, I agree that the kids should come and see this, but at the same time, parents too. Because parental guidance is something that is not happening. I know even myself, when I go to the movies with my sons and my grands and great-grands, and all these pictures they're showing, these animated pictures, those kids don't know what they're looking at. A lot of stuff goes over their head. And a lot of times I'll be sitting there and I'll be enjoying it so much, so when I have to go to the bathroom, my son says, Dad, I'll take him, because, in other words, he knows about subliminal seduction too.
Right.
But the thing is that the children, they don't know all the things that are being said. A lot of stuff just going over their head, because the stuff that myself, who's actually turning 69 in another few days, grew up with all this stuff. So they don't, when they hear something or see something, it's like it just shoots over. You know, and they don't laugh, they don't do anything, they're just sitting there.
But see, that's the thing. See, a lot of times we believe that stuff is going over their head, but a lot of stuff is, they touch right. It's a subconscious, right? It's a subliminal message.
But that's why the parental guidance has to be there, because I know myself, my children did not watch any cartoons. Not all of them. I'm saying my last wave of children.
Right.
They didn't watch no cartoons until Space Jam came out. And then we sat there with them to let them know what was going on, because way back I recognized what was going on in the cartoon.
Right.
I was saying a lot of parents, like that little boy, they were in the very beginning, they was doing the Rocky thing.
Right.
Okay, now there was somebody was videoing that, but at the same time there was no like a parental guidance to talk to that child, because they need to know what to say, what not to say, what to do and what not to do.
Right. But see, the other thing that we have to remember is this. In the Quran, Allah says that the path is not for everybody. You're going to have people in your family, you're going to have friends that are not going to believe, no matter what you show them, okay? No matter what the evidence is. But the thing is about your actions and what you do. You're judged on what you do, not what other people do. So you have to, if you see that there's a need, you have to try to give that. Allah expects us to, teach and show. And if they don't get it, they don't get it. But you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, at least do the part. Because there's an ayah in the Quran that says, the question is, why do you preach to a people who are doomed? And the reply is, perchance they may hear my Lord. So that's one. And then the idea of Allah Ta'ala sending the prophet Musa and Harun to Pharaoh. So, and he said, speak to them gently. Perhaps he may hear.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So there's always the idea of somebody getting it. So whether they get it or not, at least your job is done.
Well, think about it. Even when, in that same story that you're talking about, when he came to Pharaoh, who did Pharaoh send out against them first? The magicians.
Right.
And when his power from Allah proved to be more than theirs, what did they do?
They submitted.
They submitted.
They understood.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's very important that we understand that this life is about what you do and not about what other people do. I gave some money to a homeless guy one time, and somebody that was with me, they said, "Oh man, why you get that to him? He just gonna smoke that up." I said, "That's on him."
Exactly.
I said, because I'm doing what my Lord instructed me to do, which is to give. So if he's tricking me, that's on him. He has to answer on the day of judgment for what he does. And I answer for what I do.
It's your intention.
Right, it's your intention. It's your intention. at this, because I want you to see this is a group of people sitting around a table talking about black leadership, okay? And I want you to kind of reflect back on the two guys that they talked to about the temple study, all right, that they said were leaders of the community.
You conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Oh, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
Ha, that makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
I don't know what movie that's from. Yeah, I'll find it though.
Yeah, I want to see the rest of that.
Yeah, that's yeah, I'll find it, inshallah. But now, how many people remember Godfather?
Yeah. That remember by heart.
You say remember by heart? The first one.
The real one.
She said the real one. Well, The Godfather.
Oh, The Godfather.
I also don't believe in drugs. For years.
Now this is the meeting of the five families. Okay? And the only reason I was able to find this is because my mother told me, you know.
Well, extras, so they wouldn't do that kind of business. Somebody comes to them and says, I have powders. If you put up $3,000, $4,000 investment, we can make $50,000 distributing. So they can't resist. I want to control it as a business, to keep it respectable. I don't want it near schools. I don't want it sold to children. That's an infamia. My city, we would keep the traffic in the dark, people, the colored. They're animals anyway, so let them lose their souls.
They're animals anyway, so let them lose their souls. Okay, and this is a big mainstream movie.
But you know, it's sad, because I was talking with someone the other day about the drug activity in our community. And although it's a conversation that I hate to have, but we're not smart enough to sell our own drugs in our own community. Okay? All the real dope coming on ships and airports, and we don't get rich off of the dope that's sold in our own community.
Right.
We are the consumers. Even in that. Christmas, billions of dollars being sold.
Christmas, Halloween.
Halloween is off the chain how much is being sold to Satan worshiping. That's what Halloween is about.
Exactly.
But we are consumers and always looking to massa in some form or the other, whether it's going to their malls or buying their trees, whatever the case is. Why can't we do that for itself?
But it's so funny because when you mention the trees, you got to think about it. In the Bible, it tells them they're not supposed to do that. Okay? It says it's an abomination. It said, follow not the way of the heathen who cut trees and put ornaments on. Okay?
Chapter 10, verse 3.
Okay? So he had to remember. What was it again, Aki?
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 3.
Okay? So this system, like I said, the system is very satanic. It's not man's system. It's Shaitan's system. And that's what we have to understand. Because, you know, these people, these elites, they die, but still the same thing goes on. You know, it's still the whispers of Shaitan. This is his system.
Or as it says, the educated ones, we put them on our level so that they don't organize amongst the poor and rise up against us.
Right, and that's what you see. That's what you see with all the so-called leaders.
You know, one thing we have to realize as Muslims too, it's not like what Allah says about the shaitan. What the shaitan says, I'm coming in front of you, behind you. And this is what you see now. This is the real shaitan you see. You can always go back to the ground what Allah says and what the shaitan ain't going to do. So now we're living in it and now we see it.
Right. And I always say it goes back to, we have to bring this Quran to life for our children. We got to use this technology and combine it and, show it with Quran to prove certain things to them so that they can have clear evidence. Because like I said, they don't want to just sit around and read no more. A lot of them are bored with reading.
Are you connected or can you, this is the brother's card.
Okay.
I didn't know if you could walk away.
Oh, that's fine.
For the Jamala Scouts.
Okay, sure.
After.
It's like a program like this here, every parent should be here with a child.
But when we advertise, we can ask the parents to come with their children.
We did it before.
No, but I'm saying, we have more. And we've been exposed to the knowledge that the brothers bring.
Social problems were going to attend what was happening to whites.
Now, let's talk about the election. Because a sister asked me, could we talk about the election? Now, I've been looking at the system for a while, okay? And they do a lot of what they call predictive programming, all right? In other words, they show future events in the movies for you so that you can kind of know how to respond when these things come. So, I thought that Hillary was going to win because of the predictive programming that was laid out. They had the Star Trek leaders, and it went from white commanders to a black one, and then to a woman, right? And then they had this. This was in Pluto Nash. Now this movie is supposed to be set in, I think, in the year 2082 or something like that. And this movie came out in 2002. All right?
Nice crater is flying the club.
Yeah, I was wondering when y'all was gonna get to me. $10 million. Look, tell Mr. Crater thanks but no thanks. But I'm not gonna sell my club, and I'll tell you something else if I have my way. Nobody around here is gonna sell that place because we like this town just the way it is. So if you'd be so kind, get out.
Rex Crater does not like to be disappointed.
So you saw her on the money, okay? So that's usually how they play this little game. They do predictive programming, but for some reason it didn't go this way.
They're too sexist. They're not ready for a woman.
They're not ready for no
White
woman,
House.
that's right.
They'd rather
They had
have
a black
another
man
black
for 8
man
years.
or Hispanic, even a Mexican,
Or
a female.
they're ready to push this thing along a little faster. Okay? Let me show you what I mean. Well, the thing is this. What the plan now is, because these occultists are heavily into the story of the Phoenix. Okay? What does the Phoenix do?
It rise after the ashes, it rise.
It consumes itself in its own fire. In other words, it destroys itself, and then it rebirths itself. Okay? So that's what's going on here. They want to destroy this country and then rebirth it in the image that they want it to be in. Because the Constitution gives us too many rights. Okay? So they got to get rid of this. Right? Right. So, I mean, for those people who don't think that, there's a new world, just look at stuff is not on there for show. That's something real. Novus Ordo Secolorum. A new order of the world. But now, check this out.
There are certain issues that the people on the left and the right in American politics will never discuss. And the reason they won't discuss them is because they agree mutually. The Democrats and the Republicans agree on something, so they don't want to talk about it in public debate because it reveals the fact that they're basically the same. They only talk about things on which they disagree. Turns out that the things on which they agree are the most important things. The things in which they disagree are relatively minor.
We need to understand that we have been artificially divided for far too long. The global elites have divided us into Democrat and Republican, left and right, conservative and liberal. They have divided us with hot button issues like abortion and gay rights and gun control and prayer in schools. And by doing so, they have given us, the electorate, the illusion that we have a choice. When in reality, both the Republican and Democratic parties are owned by the same global elites. And on issues that matter to those global elites, they act as one.
By the time you go to the polls and you put your pencil mark on the paper or punch the lever, whatever you do, the decisions are already made. The candidates have already been selected. And the work goes on there, is who selects the candidates that the people vote for? Who frames the issues that the people vote for? Voting is nothing. It's all done before that stage. This left-right paradigm is a political ploy. It works very well for those who know what they're doing. We find that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party both are pretty much in the hands of a relatively small group of people with a membership of about 4,000. It's called the Council on Foreign Relations. These are the people that are really pulling the strings in both the Republican and the Democrat Party.
We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have this far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
People like Hillary Clinton know, even at that elevated position, Hillary Clinton, you'd say, was one of the big movers and shakers. Compared to the Council on Foreign Relations, she's not. She's a small fish. And she knows that she's got to get the approval of the CFO.
I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who's one of the Rockefeller family. The ultimate goal that these people have in mind is to create a one-world government. And this is getting me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish.
Not just any world government, but a world government based on the model of collectivism. In other words, big, powerful, centralized world government. If it were a world government based on the principles of freedom and freedom of choice, freedom of culture, low intervention, if no intervention in the lives of normal human beings, it might be a wonderful thing, but that's not the kind of world government the left and the right have in mind. They're talking about total world government with all major decisions being made at the top and people at the bottom being peasants, basically, in a high-tech feudalism.
In a brief video introduced by the United Nations...
Do you know in Oregon, they subsidize for 15-year-olds to get sex change operations without parental consent? Oregon. Yeah, without parental consent.
General Boutros Ghali, and containing some exceptional footage. The connection between the United Nations, New York City, and the Rockefeller Foundation is clearly drawn.
The future of this country and the lives of our children and our children's children are interwoven with the success of the United Nations. In it lies the hope of the people of the world. My father considers it a privilege to have had a part in the development of its permanent home. I'm glad to hand you, Mr. Lee, my father's check.
Thank you, Mr. Rockefeller.
for every single department of government you have on a federal, local, county, state, provincial level, the United Nations had an equivalent department to deal with everything. It was already set up, in fact, to be global government. H.G. Wells said at the League of Nations, which was the embryo for the United Nations, he said, this is the nucleus of the world's governments, when eventually all laws will come from there, be passed and signed into law by treaty of all the member countries. Eventually, we won't even have to go through the farce, and that's what it is, of voting in parties or candidates, because in the latter part of the 20th century and now into the 21st century, we're being trained, rather obviously, to simply accept rule by experts, rule by scientists, rule by professionals, and that's what they mean when they call governance.
2009 is also the first year of global governance, with the establishment of the G20 in the middle of the financial crisis. The climate conference in Copenhagen is another step towards the global management of our planet.
If people would just engage a few more brain cells, open the eyes and look, they will see the scale of fascism, no other word for it, that we are being subjected to today.
I remember we had an FBI consultant on the picture telling me that they can use your ADT security box microphone to get your stuff that's going on in your house, or OnStar, they could shut your car down. And he told me that 1 in 5 phone calls that you make are recorded and logged. And I laughed at him, and then he played back a phone conversation I'd had 2 years prior to joining the picture, the FBI consultant. And it was like one of those phone calls, it was like, you know, what are you wearing type of things. Really? Yeah, so it was mad weird.
Wait, so you mean they had a record of you from
2 years prior to me joining the picture.
Even being associated with the movie. Well, that seems
It's extremely creepy.
Tim, is there...
But now what you gotta think about is that's the actor Shia LaBeouf. Now, after that, after he had that interview, his career went down the tank. So he must have said something he wasn't supposed to say. Right.
You pick too much information out. Too much.
Now, obviously it was a voicemail. They could try to get the phone companies to give that up at this point. But if it's not a voicemail, it's just a conversation. There's no way they actually can find out what happened, right? Unless she tells them.
No, there is a way. We certainly have ways in national security investigations to find out exactly what was said in that conversation. It's not necessarily something that the FBI is going to want to present in court, but it may help lead the investigation and or lead to questioning of her.
So somewhere it's being digitized, or they can actually get that. Because people were saying, look, that wouldn't be possible.
Yes.
It's pretty incredible what you're saying.
No, welcome to America. All of that stuff is being captured as we speak, whether we know it or like it or not.
Note to self, as Deb Farrick just said here, yeah.
First up tonight in the news, yes, the re-education camps do apply to American citizens. I understand this is shocking, but the time for denial is over. Yesterday, of course, we covered the leaked U.S. Army document that outlines the plan for re-education camps in America. I can't believe it either, but yes, they do use the word re-education, and they repeatedly refer to operations inside U.S. territory. Paul Watson has highlighted all the quotes about how the psychological operations officers are going to be brainwashing people in the